And there's a prayer that I always come back to before I do anything, starting from my life events. It's like, use me wisely. Comes from A Course in Miracles. I might butcher it, but it's like, use me wisely. What will you have me do? Who will you have me meet? And how can I best be of service? When I'm in my own way, I say this all the time. When I'm stuck in my own way, like, oh, I'm so annoyed that this didn't happen, I come back to this prayer. We're vessels for the divine. And when the vessel is purified, the universe picks vessels as channels to deliver the message. All the messages are the same. We can say the things a million times, but it's all bringing us back to love, unconditional love.
Hello and welcome to At the Podium with me, Patrick Huey. At the Podium is a multimedia platform where story by story, we delve into the resiliency of the human spirit with people who are using their personal stories to leave a positive and transformative imprint on our world today. At the Podium holds a space for meaningful conversation, inspiration, and life. Today, I'm thrilled to share the podium with Charles Chen. Charles is a chef and wellness entrepreneur and creator of the 888 process. At one point in his life, Charles struggled with his health and weighed up to 260 pounds. Charles was pre-diabetic, lethargic, and had no motivation. Since then, Charles has lost over 100 pounds, reclaimed his health, and is now passionate about helping others live their best lives through yoga, meditation, and nutrition. Charles has been seen on the Dr. Oz show, Good Morning America, Food Network, Netflix, ABC, and NBC. Charles, welcome to At the Podium. Your story is pretty amazing.
Thank you. I
So
appreciate it.
you at one point, now I've met you in person, so you're tall, but at one point when you were a child, you
I
were
was I was 15 at my heaviest, so I struggled with obesity, like, preteens, ate my feelings like a lot of
Mhm.
people do. People have ways to numb themselves. My way was food. I saw myself. I saw my mom actually. My mom was a emotional eater. So anytime she would get stressed, she would just eat her feelings. And so I learned that. I was like, oh, well, I'm feeling things I don't want to feel, and this will temporarily create that fix and numb myself out. So
Mhm.
I found myself addicted to junk food. My after school program was near McDonald's. Every day I would just eat buckets of fries, McDonald's every day. Like that was my allowance money. I was just addicted to junk food.
Yeah. And you were at one point 260 pounds, you said.
260 pounds, probably a little heavier too, but I was short. I wasn't as tall as when I met you. So I was like short, struggling. I would wake up with panic attacks. Diabetes runs in my family. So I was pre-diabetic. I would wake up and like my heart's pounding. I can't breathe.
Mhm.
Um, Social anxiety, all of that.
So
And
what was causing you to what were the feelings that you were eating the fries to sort of bring down?
yeah, so I was born in the US, but then I was raised in Taiwan until age 7, and then I moved here at the age of 7, Mandarin being my first language. Keep in mind, like, new environment, didn't speak the language, finding my way, my identity in this like multicultural, like first generation. Um, yeah, just learning a whole new way. And I was also dealing with my sexuality. I was very confused, a lot of shame. My father, not really being in the picture, parents divorced. There was just a lot of things going on at home. And so I just found my way of eating my way out. And I was like, oh, like, and also looking back, also dealing with sexual trauma like at an early age. And I don't talk about this a lot, but I talk about it because I think it's very powerful because a lot of people struggle with it and they don't talk about it, especially men. And as I open up about it, more people open up to me. I'm like, oh wow, like this is definitely a conversation that must be talked about. And if you believe in the chakras, there's seven different chakras. The sacral chakra is your confidence, your discernment, your boundaries. And it was connected to my throat. I would hold in the truth. I'm naturally very intuitive, always been when I was a little kid. And somewhere, somehow, I spoke my truth and it wasn't received. And I felt like my truth didn't matter, kind of like Maya Angelou, and I just went mute. That was same time when I moved to America after the incident happened in Asia. And I just was lost, new language, and I just like stopped talking. I just like my mom would get called, to the school, like, hey, your son's not talking. Like, what's going on? Because I was traumatized. I was numbing. And so that was my way.
And at what point were you able to say, what was that spark that
You,
like just
yeah,
enough?
I feel like you have to fall off enough times until the pain is unbearable and you're just like, I am tired of this. And I think even when I'm working with clients, I have to see that there is a level of being broken open. Like you're at your rock bottom. I think rock bottom, a lot of people think is a bad thing. I don't think necessarily. I think it's a very beautiful thing because it's a catalyst for transformation. We must be broken open for the divine to come through because you're
Mm.
acting out of your ego for so long. And so when you can be like, I am done with this, I surrender. I was on my rock bottom. I at the age of 15, sitting in front of my TV, just numbing myself with television and stuffing my face with truffles. I remember this ball of like foil was like piling up because I was eating so many truffles that to the point that I was like, oh my gosh, I feel sick. And I was like, there's got to be a better way. Had no energy. All my friends were outside playing, and I was like, I can't keep doing this to myself. And a voice came in to my head, and I was in a surrender moment. And I think we all have these quiet whispers that come to us when we're still, but a very clear voice came into my head and was like, if you transform your life, you can help other people. And so, till this day, yes, my medium might shift the way that I express myself, but that intention carries me through is that if I can heal myself, I'm going to help as many people as I can and teach them and guide them and give them the resources and help as many people as I can. So I hit my rock bottom. I was like, okay, I got to do something different. There's got to be a better way. And I was praying, and a voice was like, okay, like if you heal yourself, you must help other people. And so that's kind of like how I started everything. I started eating healthier, going to the farmers market, started cooking my own food instead of eating all this junk and processed food. And I started healing my body, getting more in tune. I picked up meditation again, started practicing mindfulness at a very early age, going back to my Eastern roots. Like my mom raised us in a Buddhist environment where I went to the temple all the time. I would meditate with the monks. I knew all this stuff. But you get in your way and things get louder, you get distracted, you get pulled in the wrong direction, your vibration's lower, so you get lured into lower frequency things and you're just numbing. So when you start shining brighter, elevating, and start showing up for yourself,
Mm.
I started to feel good. I started to have more energy. I started walking in my neighborhood. I just remember though, like I was so committed. I was like, one thing at a time. I was like, I'm gonna heal myself.
Mm. Oftentimes, when people start to change, people leave or people push back against it. Did you experience that? And if you did, how did you manage that?
Oh, for sure. I feel like people get uncomfortable because they're also comfortable with you being a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
So when I wanted to start eating better, a lot of my friends would look at me like, "What? You're not going to eat junk food with us? Like, what? What are you doing?" But I had to protect that. I was like, "No, feeling good and my health is priority." And my mom was open to it. And I started offering myself to be like, hey, mom, instead of taking takeout, can we go get groceries? I'll cook. I'll learn how to cook. Like, I'll cook for us. And so I started, that was my act of service. Like, cooking was a way for me to show my love for other people. So like when we talk about love languages, that was my act of service. I was like, mom, a single mom, working a full-time job, going to school, getting her master's. I can help around the house. This is my contribution. Let me just cook. I never thought I was like, I'm going to be a chef. It was just like, this is the thing to make mom's life a little bit easier. And I enjoy cooking. So I was like, let's play. Let's have fun with this. So I started cooking for my sister and my mom. My mom's like, I don't have time. So if you guys want to eat, cook, or I'm going to order takeout. So I was like, okay, I'll start cooking. So she was
Mhm.
encouraging in a way. I was like, yeah, great. And then my aunt lived with us. So then she taught me how to cook. She was always home and I kind of learned my ways through her.
You said something. I wrote it down. You said, and that it was on your YouTube channel, and the sort of hashtag headline was keeping the faith. And what you said was rejection is how the universe protects you from what no longer serves you. Trust what is for you is well on its way.
Yes. I think the biggest thing I've learned through my whole transformation process is to be patient with yourself, to understand and not compare someone else's season of harvest with our season of stillness.
Mm.
It's so hard, especially in this social media age where everyone's showing their highlight reel. It's so hard to not compare. But when you get still on a daily basis, you no longer compare and you recognize that there's a higher power, a divine orchestration, like when the right time to meet someone, the right time to take a certain opportunity. And even at the UPS or like people you bump into, I think every interaction is a divine interaction. So you might meet people to learn certain lessons and even rejection. Sometimes you're like, oh, I really wanted this, but oh, why didn't I get this? It's almost like the universe protecting you for something even greater or preparing your vessel for something greater.
Mm.
So I started looking at life that way. I mean, it brings me a lot more peace than fighting myself about like, oh, why didn't I get this? Or why didn't this happen? Or why didn't this relationship work out? But when we look back in our lives, like when I look back, I'm like, damn, all the dots connect. The right people were there to teach me specific lessons. I didn't get that job opportunity and a better opportunity arise. Sometimes we're so stuck at the closed door, we can't see the door that is literally open waiting for us. Like,
Mm.
because we keep wanting to go into doors that we're not welcomed in. There's a door open literally with your name on it, waiting for you. And you're so stuck at that door. So that's why I'm like, okay, let it go and then surrender. And when I'm in a moment of frustration, and we all do, I let myself feel the frustration and then I let it go and I come back to prayer and be like, okay, universe, like you have a greater plan and you know better than I do. So do you like show me and show me the magic, show me what you're here to do, like, and then it becomes more fun and playful. And the universe has comedic timing and is very funny. We'll do things you're just like, oh my gosh, this is so funny, like, of course, right? So then now I just kind of like laugh at it. I'm like, okay, didn't get the opportunity, it's okay, moving on.
When you think about, the truffles and the fries and the choice you made to say, okay, we're going to do different, and you walk onto the set of the Dr. Oz show, or you walk onto the set of Good Morning America or your show on Netflix, what are you thinking?
Honestly, I will say this, I am a big vision board, law of attraction, visualization person. Before I even transform my body, I visualized how I felt. And maybe I didn't even know it at such an early age, but I tapped into the feeling. I tapped into like, oh, how do I feel in this new body? What is the energy I exude? I feel confident in my skin. I feel safe in my skin. I feel loved. I feel cherished. I love myself. I feel energized. And so I started creating vision boards at a very early age. I was that kid watching Oprah after school. I was obsessed. And I will meet Oprah. I tell all my friends, I was like, I've already seen it. I know what she smelled like. I know what I'm wearing. I know we're picking, fruits and vegetables at her garden and we're cooking together. Like, yes, I see it, right? And so vision board, I think I learned from her, and I started creating my vision boards. I started like cutting little things and putting on a little poster,
Yeah.
and every one of those things have happened. And so I started creating digital vision boards on my phone. I have one now, literally on my phone. Oprah's on there, but like create it so you see it every day. Put it on your desktop. And I would meditate and visualize, again, coming back to the feeling. How do I feel when I'm on the show? Or when I moved to New York, I didn't know anyone, and I said, I'm going to get on Food Network. I didn't know anyone. I moved in the middle of winter, and 2 months later, I got a call from casting director. I was like, but I remember going to Chelsea Market. I was like, oh, I think this is where they film Chopped,
Oh,
and just like manifest. And I'm on the set. And so when I'm on the set, I'm so present, but it feels so right because I've been prepared. So I always say, start showing up as the highest version of yourself, showing up as that future self, tapping. The easiest way to tap into that is by tapping into the emotion. How
mm,
do I started carrying myself like I am that person, and what are the habits that this person has that I'm not showing up as right now? How can I cultivate these? How can I become excellent at what I do? How can I hone my craft? How can I work when everyone's outside partying? Like, I just want to make sure that I am so prepared. Oprah always says preparation meets opportunity equals luck. And so I'm about to hit my 10-year mark of being in the industry, and they're like 10 years, overnight success. And I was like, the amount of dues I paid doing free events, working with Whole Foods, doing live events, I was like showing up every single day. I maybe the money didn't make sense, but at the time I was like, this is my service. And I always went back to that as we're here to heal ourselves, but also we all have specific give God-given gifts for that is uniquely to you and your soul purpose. And when
mm.
you start healing yourself and you tap in and start understanding your self-awareness, understanding, oh, I have specific gifts that I'm naturally good at and I never thought I would monetize on this, share it. That's planting your seeds of your karma and planting your seeds of dharma, like what you're here to share. And so I just started sharing and not realizing, going back to the dots connecting backwards, that all those live events prepared me for live television.
Oh,
So
yeah.
when I was on Dr. Oz, I remember the first time, which people would have been overwhelmed. They don't understand like the amount of cues, and then the live audience is going on. It's a medical show, so there's medical terminology that you cannot screw up because of legal problems. And so they're like camera one, camera two, okay, audience, and they're like, welcome Charles Chen, and it's like stimulation overload. But because I spent enough time visualizing how it would feel, I felt so at ease. And there's a prayer that I always come back to before I do anything, starting from my live events. It's like, use me wisely. Comes from A Course in Miracles. I might butcher it, but it's like, use me wisely. What will you have me do? Who will you have me meet? And how can I best be of service? When I'm in my own way, I say this all the time. When I'm stuck in my own way, like, oh, I'm so annoyed that this didn't happen, I come back to this prayer. We're vessels for the divine. And when the vessel is purified, the universe picks vessels as channels to deliver the message. All the messages are the same. We can say the things a million times, but it's all bringing us back to love, unconditional love. And so your service is a way of giving. So looking back, when I'm there, I'm just present, and I was so prepared. Like the muscle was already exercised. So by the time I was there, I was like, let's go. Like,
Mm.
I'm so excited. I was like, yes. And I remember Dr. Oz, my first time on the show, he just like leaned over. It was before we started filming, and he was like, hey, kid, just have fun. And I did. I had so much fun. And he reminded me, and even going on the show multiple times, he remembers your name. I was like, you have to remember all this scripts and all this stuff, and you remember people's names. I was like, wow. I was like, he definitely made me feel seen. I was like, I want to be that for other people. Like, remember how they make you feel, but also like remember names. Like I was like, you could be better at this. But just the little things. And I just like enjoy every moment. Yeah, there's a lot of waiting. And then one time I was on the show and then uh we were in our dressing room and then the producer comes over. I was like, oh yeah, you're gonna be on the show with Mel Robbins. And I was like, what? And that was law of attraction. I was like, I'm gonna meet Mel, like I don't know when. And I was like so intimidated because she was like around a huge entourage. And I was like, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm gonna go up to her. I was like, oh my gosh, Mel, you changed my life. And she was so sweet. But just those little moments, I was like, like don't be scared, like live fully and be
Mm.
in the present. And I just enjoyed every moment. Yeah.
What is your present like when you look in the mirror now? Who do you see?
Yeah. I see courage. Something that I always like will come back to when I work with my inner child is like, I love that you never give up. And I commend myself for that. I was like, you keep showing up. And I was like, I was like, I want to applaud you for showing up. And you're kind and you care. Sometimes it's confusing because I definitely feel like I was like, I'm on from another planet. I was reincarnated into this world. And I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I just want to go home. Like, what am I
Yeah,
doing here? Am I
yeah.
speaking a different language? But then I realized I was like, I'm not here to fit in. You're here to be the highest version of yourself, shine as bright as you can, and share the gifts that were given to you. And everything else is secondary. And
Mm.
then when I remind myself of that, I'm just like, oh, yeah. But I think something that's so interesting, of course, we're in this physical form, but I think having navigated transformation and being in a heavier body and then now into a fit, strong body, you just understand how fleeting the physical can be. Of course, you want to take care of this physical vessel, but you tap into something so much deeper, which is the soul. And that's why I say daily soul care. The soul transcends, and even if you transition out of this dimension, is always with you. Like
Mm.
that's why when people transition into another dimension or another life, you still feel their presence, like energetically. And if anything, I've realized like transformation is very holistic, it's energetic.
Mm.
That's why, the body keeps the score, talks about how trauma gets stored in the body energetically. So you have to release the block. So, yeah, you could be eating the right nutrition, but what are your thoughts? What are you thinking?
Mm.
Can you be with your food? Can you digest? Can you give gratitude? So I started talking about, and this is a unique perspective. When I first started in food, I wasn't just sharing recipes. I would talk to people about how do you eat?
Mm.
Are you in a state of rush? Are you in a state of anxiety? Are you judging yourself while you're drinking this green juice and eating a salad? Because that's unhealthy, right? Letting go of the negative self-talk and bringing the compassion back.
Do you still struggle with weight today? Or
I had to be very strict at the very beginning where it's like, no, don't touch those fries. I love my French fries. And I
yeah,
eat it and I'm in bliss. I just do everything in moderation.
yeah.
But I also am in tune with my body. So the intuitive eating, listening to my body, does my liver need extra care? Just, touching my heart and my belly and just tuning in is like, what is it that I need today? Should I lean away from too much sugar? Like listening to your body. It's so in tune. Our bodies are miraculous. And if we give it the time, it will heal itself. And usually it's us doing too much. So I always edit and I say, it's not about all the things that you're going to add in, but it's what like you take out. Just coming back to basics, essentials.
I'm glad you said that because on your website you say in all caps, you say, don't be afraid to change. You may lose something good, but you may gain something better. And
Yeah.
I'm curious what you've had to give up or lose to have this incredible, and I'm not talking about the appearances on television, but I'm talking about the incredible life that you have today. So, what did you have to lose, give up to have this life?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what we talked about, like the internal thermostat.
Mm,
When we update the system, I call it upgrade the programming. Just like you update your phone, do updates, you need to do an internal update because sometimes we're running on old programming that is not serving our highest good. So checking yourself to be like, is this belief system actually true? Is there any valid points here? Can I lean in with curiosity and what if I tried a different approach and you feel very uncomfortable? So the letting go is like letting go of relationships, letting go of thoughts, letting go of anything that's just weighing you energetically down. It could be certain foods, certain family members, certain friends. I think a lot of times people think loyalty is about how long you've known someone, but no, it's like every season requires a different version of yourself, especially if you're elevating. And it's okay. You can send people love and just create distance. And just because we can't control how other people show up, if they're not committed to their growth, you can limit your time spent with certain people and you can create healthy boundaries and discernment and lower your expectations so you don't continue to hurt yourself. I was talking to a friend and she was talking about how some relationships have expiration dates and it's who knows your paths might cross again, amazing, beautiful, but at this time in this present moment maybe your soul contract already completed the lessons that you learned from each other. You both were teachers and students, and it's now another stage of your life. And it's okay. It's like, again, coming back to the waves, ride the waves. Like, don't attach on to certain people and expect them to go into the next chapter when they should have just stayed in the past.
mm. You don't talk about fear.
Give me a question.
But a lot of the, I've talked to a lot of people on this show, and a lot of times we talk a lot about fear and how fear is it's the great restraint, right? Or it's the great catalyst for a lot of bad stuff sometimes. But in your work, you don't talk a lot about fear.
That's interesting. That's the first time I heard it. But I mean, I navigate and I think about it because I think maybe I use a different word because like resistance is fear related. But one thing that I always come back to whenever you're in a transition, you're going through something, I always come back to the intention. One great teacher said to me, don't move in chaos, move from
Mm,
stillness. So anytime I have to make a very dramatic life decision, I come back to am I grounded in love or fear? Because there's either or. And if am anxious, I don't make any decisions out of fear. I try not to. I'm aware of it. Of course, I probably have, but I know that any decision made out of fear will only amplify more fear.
mm,
A miracle is a transition from fear to love at any given moment. So at any given moment, when I'm feeling fear, I'm just like, okay, I feel the fear. How can I transmute? How can I work with this energy? Because I don't think there's anything wrong with fear or darkness or shadows. It's part of the transmutation process, how to work with it. How can you transform and become an alchemist and work with what's being revealed to you? How can you bring light into the darkness? But don't stay there. Allow it to be your teacher. Use it.
mm. Love that. Love that. Okay. I have one more question for you. We can talk
Yes.
past it, but I have one more question for you. So in this season of the show, I'm interested in exploring the impact that we as people leave on the planet to each other. And I wonder for you, what legacy do you hope to give to the world and to the people in your life?
My purpose is to show up as love and be love. That's it. And I think legacy, I don't really think too much of it because it's not really in my control, I think overall, but I think it's just, am I showing up as love? That's it. And I try, I do my best. every moment. I'm not the best every day, but I feel good when I am. And I know that things are aligned. I connect with the right people. I attract other people who are on the same vibration. But when I'm out of alignment, that's when you check yourself. You're like, oh, I don't like how this feels. I feel disconnected. And then I dive deep and I go within. But I think that's my purpose and my legacy is like just be love. Just simply everything you do, can you do it from a place of love and non-judgment to heal, to recognize that we all have our darkness, our shadows, and to have more compassion, I think, and a little bit more faith and more kindness. It's such a little thing, but just show up and be kind. We don't know what other people are dealing with, and you can feel the tension. It's kind of like as a collective, there's a lot of like turmoil, things coming up, rising, but it's kind of like the cleansing and purification process. Like it must get muddy before the water's clear again, until you
Mm.
can see things clearly and see the actual reflection of what things as it is. So right now it's muddy and it's like people are getting triggered and people are feeling anxious, but it's part of the transformation process. So to be more compassionate with other people, with ourselves, and to make more space and time for healing and love and to connect with that part of ourselves daily. Because people always say it's like, don't go straight to your phone first thing in the morning. Can you connect to nature? Can you do something to connect with that still quiet voice within that is connected to the divine, that is connected to your higher power? If you start creating more space for that, then you're more clear with what you're here to share. You're not operating out of fear or competition because there's more than enough for everyone. And you just
Mm.
realize like I'm being used and going back to that mantra, like use me wisely.
Charles, thank you so much.
Thank you. This is so much fun. Thank you for sharing your platform and creating the intention to share stories that can empower and uplift and help others.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really, this is the third year or so that I've been doing this, and I think it's so important. For me, it has to be a psychologically safe space for people,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
feel that for people to go deep, I think about that when I do events and when I hold space for other people. It's like, is this a space where people feel safe?
Yeah.
Because you won't go as deep, you won't feel vulnerable enough because there are walls that have been built up for years. And for those things to melt away, you have to know that you're in an environment that you can go there and there's no judgment. And, you know,
Yeah,
so that's why I think the love and the compassion is like so much more needed nowadays.
it really is. It really, really is. So I'm grateful to you, Charles. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you. I can't wait to share. Thank you.
much. Yes.
Anything you want to share?
You've shared a lot. What do I want to share? No, honestly, I'm in this season. I've been in a season of reflection, but I think it's gone from a passive reflection into an active reflection, to where
Hmm.
I've been thinking a lot about, and I write about it sometimes in my newsletters. I was really bullied growing up, and I think so much of who I am today was defined by that, where
Hmm.
I don't let people mess with me. Don't mess with me. You
Yeah,
know
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? But you can't walk into situations like that all the time,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
not everyone's messing with you. Even if that's your perception of what's happening. So I think I've been thinking a lot about, how do I not respond in the way that I'm used to responding to things, just
Hmm.
because I've had this experience in my life, and how do I forgive feels like a strong word, and maybe it is the right word, I don't know, but also how do I let that go and let that be? It's a very, it's all
Yeah.
cyclical though, because in my 30s I was like, oh, I've dealt with that, I've done with that. And now I'm like, well, maybe I didn't behave so great sometimes because I was like talking to a person who wronged me when I was 13 or said this about me, or it requires a lot of being present in the moment and choosing to make different decisions.
Yeah.
You choose to be and behave. And
But I love, like you said, like all this self-reflection helps you understand people so much more, because I think one thing that I ask is like, I would think about other people's childhood and like try to put myself in their shoes. Like, why would someone bully me and show up? That means someone's doing that in their life. And this is where ending and healing generational trauma is like, no, you don't have to continue that. When you choose a healing journey, you don't have to show up the way that other people show up. And you don't have to continue to hurt people. You can choose, and it requires more work and more, like, so much radical self love that when someone's screaming at you and acting out, I'm like, that's not my shit, because I checked in with myself today. I'm feeling pretty good.
yeah,
They're not having a good day. Let me not take this personally. And that's very hard. You know, the four agreements, like, don't take anything personally, don't make any assumptions. I'm still working on those today, but it's like, and when I have that moment of stillness in during the mornings, and then if something were to happen, I pause, I create space. I used to like will react right away. I now just pause. Or if I feel like I can't respond in the right way, I remove myself from the situation, and I'll be like, hey, I'm gonna take a moment. Let's talk about this. But I just feel like nothing good is gonna come out because I'm still in my emotions right now. Let me regulate I know what I need to calm myself down, and let's have an actual healthy relationship where let's talk about this. Because if you saw fighting, all you would like scream, you would just keep escalating and amplifying it, and then you feel like shit afterwards. And then enough times you're like, that's not the way to go about things.
yeah,
And so when you can still yourself and collect yourself and calm yourself, then you come back to the situation and you're like, wow, okay, someone's really acting out. Maybe there was a word or something said that triggered their inner child and they're acting out. And it's not about the situation anymore. It triggered something that brought them into another space.
mm,
And so when you do the healing, you recognize the patterns, and then you start being more compassionate toward yourself and the other person. And you just, one step at a time, you create a different change. Even though it feels so unnatural, you're like, oh, why am I going to be patient? Or why, you
yeah,
just try, lean in with curiosity. Like, how can I try? And can I suspend my judgment towards this person? And let me not take this personally, and see the bigger picture. Like, oh, zoom out. It has nothing to do with me. This person's acting out. Okay, something may be going on. Let me either remove myself, or if you care enough about this person, check in and be like, hey, what's really going on? Like, are you okay? Like, how are things? Um, and usually it's just someone acting out. It's their inner child, and we all have that. We throw tantrums, and we're just like, I need a little love, or like, I'm going through it.
yeah,
And you see it in LA, traffic. You just see people honk. They just are waiting for an opportunity to go off. And I'm
oh,
like, that is not like you, that was already within you.
yeah,
It's like when you squeeze an orange, what comes out? Orange juice. So it's like if there was already anger, I was waiting for it to come out. You just became the opportunity for someone to lash out. And
yeah,
that's why I'm very aware. I'm like, I check in, I'm like, I'm feeling good. Like, and you can bless people before you go into spaces. Like, let me just bless everybody. If I'm about to go into a meeting, I was like, yes, like send some
pray it
good
up,
juju.
pray
Yep.
it
And I'm
up.
like, I carry my sage, my Palo Santo in my car, especially when I'm driving. I'm like, calm down. And I play some meditation music. I was like, don't try me. I was like, I practice. I went to the spiritual gym today. I am having a good day. I'm gonna not let little things get to me.
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And to those of you who are watching or listening, remember, we all have a voice. Use yours wisely. Bye, everyone.